So, Harry, why do you think people, hat tip New York Times, are working so hard against this?
I think, if we take the charitable argument, on their behalf, reluctantly, then it's just ignorance, right? Like if you went into the news office there and you sat down with every reporter who worked on that or every reporter in the bullpen and just asked, like, how does energy get generated and delivered? Like, nobody can answer, right? So you're fundamentally asking people with no technical basis to comment on the moralization of the usage. And that's not a fair assignment. And so that's sort of one leg of it. And the other is just, that there's a moral superiority that's been represented about one use case of energy versus another. And that's wrong, right? Like we have a market for this thing. Everybody pays their power bill at the end of the month, whether you're a huge Bitcoin miner or whether you're a household. And the ability to freely associate within the context of that marketplace, is what we as Americans have come to understand we have a right to. So
now tell the truth.
Or there's just like a massive political biased agenda coming for us. One of the two.
I'm not sure which one. It's a news office.
And let's dig into the reasons why. Because there's really a very, very reasonable fact-based way to approach this, where if you just look at the list of power plants and mining facilities listed, they just omit all the big good ones, right? It's just the least reasonable cohort to be able to represent one point of view. You want to talk about marginal accounting for emissions? We can go there next. But that's like the most egregious methodology that we could think of. But if you just go look at a holistic list, you don't end up with the data set that they've arrived at. You've just excluded everything that touches a renewable generation source. And look, I can cherry pick data to say whatever I want.
That piece was devastating to me because I just knew what the response of my colleagues and friends and acquaintances would be. And sure enough, my inbox was full. Troy, I don't know if you've seen this story. I'm guessing you probably have. It's good to see data on what Bitcoin's actual emissions are. Yeah. So it was I don't know. I'm so frustrated. I can barely think straight still about that story. I talked to the reporter, as many Bitcoiners did. Had actually a really hard but productive 90-minute conversation with Gabriel Danson. I don't know, Harry, whether it's just ignorance, because the reporter seemed very smart, seemed to be tracking well. I don't know what happened in the editorial process or the writing process, but I think that someone was hunting a white whale, a great white whale, for 6 months and gathering data, and they got their whale, and we'll try to ride that story to accolades in journalism and so on. It's just a better story. Here's one story. What's the impact of Bitcoin mining? Well, it's kind of complicated, really. You've already lost your audience. It's kind of complicated, really. It's actually very good for grid stability. These are large consumers of power, but they pay very little for power, so they usually use energy that others don't want in a kind of non-rival way. There are exceptions to that when we have a spike up in prices, and then they'll just stay on all the time, and so there'll be some communities that have pricier power because of it, blah, blah, right? You could give the whole picture. Is that a story you want to read? You're already bored right now. I'm losing you. Of course, the New York Times is going to lose its readership. Here's a story. Bitcoin is destroying the planet. It's a bunch of rank capitalists who have no concern for anybody else's welfare. They just want to get rich. And let's get them out of our country, never mind where they will go, and save our planet. That's a much better story. And so it was just, I think the data was pushed to fit that story, and then that's the ways in which the data was massaged, the selective attention. We could be here all night to talk about it, but the headline was written before the story was my impression. The story was written to meet the headline. It's a shame. We're going to be fighting it for a long time, but ultimately we will win because we have the truth. And because the farther this narrative is from reality, like when we start showing people what what Bitcoin mining is doing for our energy systems in creative and cool ways that blow their minds, they're going to be like, what? Heads absolutely spinning, because they've been led to believe the exact opposite. So the real Pulitzer Prize is to be written on how we went from, how did we get here? How did we get government, academia, and media all on the same page, singing the same tune about a brand new emerging technology that nobody even freaking understands, really, before they write about it. And we get a moral crusade, and that issues in policy proposals that could, actually delay the energy goals that the very same people have. That's the story. How did that happen to our society?
I can tell you. I have a great answer. Great answer. Which is, those are cohorts that fundamentally do not build things. Bitcoin demonetizes the political class, and it remonetizes the productive class. That's it. That's the point. And so when, the heuristic for us to walk out of here with is, if you look at people who are making an argument around how to cut a pie versus somebody who's willing to bake a pie, listen to the second group. Please